for people together. I had some problems with my internet. That's why I had to be a little late. I am your moderator for this session today. So we will wait 2 more minutes and start. So let's start. Hi everybody, my name is Daniela. I'm coordinator of 15x4 branch in Kharkiv, Ukraine, and today I will moderate the Ig Nobel Prize session. Firstly, I will shortly tell you what is 15x4 and the Ig Nobel Prize itself. 15x4 is a community of young scholars and science communicators working on a number of science popular projects in cities of Ukraine and abroad. It started in 2015 in Kharkiv with a group of enthusiasts and science lovers. Currently, there are regional branches of 15x4 project in many cities of Ukraine, Russia, Israel, Germany, Poland, and Moldova, and so on. Lecturers from some of these cities will present their reports today because it's international event. 15x4 is also a format of events which consists of 4 15-minute talks on various topics. In several minutes, we will hear about the Satiric Prize awarded annually since 1991 to celebrate 10 unusual or trivial achievements in scientific research. The Ig Nobel Prize. It aims to honor achievements that first make people laugh and then make them think. I hope that you will like it. Schedule of our event will be the next. Firstly, we'll hear about Ig Nobel Prize in economics, then entomology, medicine, and material sciences. All lecturers will have 15 minutes for their reports and then 5 more minutes to answer your questions. Don't be shy to ask something in chat or in YouTube live stream comments. I will pick up the most interesting questions and read them to the lecturer. Of course, at the end of all lectures, you can go to the Speakers Hub and ask your questions personally and talk to the lecturers. Also, please be sure you turned off your microphones during the event. First lecture will be given by Valeria Dmitrieva from Rostov-on-Don. Valeria is founder of a branch in her city. She works in IT, but also interested in economy. She will tell us about cases and national income equality. Let's start.
Hi, everyone. Today I'm going to talk about Ig Nobel Prizes. So, research that national income inequality predicts cultural variation in mouth-to-mouth kissing. Romantic love and passion are cultural features, but in different countries, couples change in their norms, rituals, and forms of romantic expression. Expressions of love are related to stable relationships, which are important for people's health and wealth as a unit of society. Kissing functions allow to estimate supposed signals to biological quality in a partner through close contact, for avoiding pathogens, disease cues, and given that the exchange of saliva may increase the probability of transmitting some infections, romantic kissing may incur costs. So, we do not engage in romantic kisses with a random partner. We just kiss with high-quality mate. There are authors of this article. They are all really smart guys from 7 countries. They think, where is the relation between romantic kisses and national wealth? This romantic guy is Christopher Watkins, a researcher from RBT University from UK, who led a study that discovered a link between income inequality and how often people French kiss. He interested in social judgments based on physical cues, like in contexts of romantic, cooperative, and competitive interaction. You may see his other articles, like using sexual selection theories, contextual variation in heterosexual women orientation toward high heels. Yes, sounds really weird. Kissing, and where is the relation between negative effects of makeups and leadership into ethicists. Okay, what about participants? Participants were recruited from campuses, Twitter, or academic groups on social media. More than 2,300 people responded. Most part of them is women, heterosexual, and in established relationship. Dr. Watkins' cross-cultural study involved participants from 13 different countries across 6 continents. Participants were asked a range of questions about romantic relationship, but not about their health or wealth. Respondents completed a questionnaire about mouth-to-mouth kissing. They were asked how important they thought kissing was at the very initial stages of romantic relationship and in long-term relationship. So, people suppose that kissing is more important at the later stages of the romantic relationship compared to the start of the romantic relationship. Other groups of questions. When they are in a romantic relationship, how often they kiss their partner, how often just hug without kissing, and have sex with their partner. On 0, not at all, and to 100, very often. And questions about satisfaction with the amount of kissing, hugging without sex, and kisses, and having sex. Not at all satisfied, to 100 very satisfied. So this is results of kissing frequencies and satisfaction with amount. Funny thing that France and Italy is on the bottom. Nigeria is in the middle, and Chile and USA is on the top. Yeah, women viewed kissing as more important in relationships than men, and attractive individuals viewed kissing as more important in a relationship that than less attractive individuals. And attractive people reported more kissing and sex in relationship and greater satisfaction with the amount of kissing and hugging in their relationship. Older participants placed greater importance on kissing on romantic relationship and on the associated components of a good kiss than younger individuals. Moreover, they were less satisfied with the amount of kisses and hugging in their relationship. These findings may deserve further research into generational differences in romantic intimacy. Finally, participants indicated the importance of 7 factors when deciding whether someone is a good kisser on a 0 to 100, extremely important scale. So, these features are pleasantness of breath, sense of their body, taste of lips or skin, wetness of kiss, involvement of touching, physical arousal, and same kissing style. So, what about results? What makes a good kiss good? And that's pleasantness of breath. So, what about income inequality? Gini index helps us. Gini is measuring income or wealth distribution among a population. The coefficient ranges from 0 or 0% to 1 or 100%. The extreme cases are the most equal society in which every person receives the same income, and the most unequal society where a single person receives 100% of the total income and the remaining n-1 people receive none. The well-known case where the richest 20% have 80% of all income would lead to income Gini coefficient at least of 60%. Look at this map. Australia is so light, right? And the USA has not so good color. And Brazil and Colombia are dark. Yeah. This is the main result of correlation between kisses and Gini index. If correlation is close to 0, it means there is no relationship between the variables, and the closest to 1, it means that variables are related. Although some of the data is conflicting, and with the main suggestion. The specific relationship between Gini and kissing frequency was over 5 times the size of null correlation between Gini and frequency of hugging or having sex. This data suggests a relationship between relative poverty and greater kissing frequency. So, national wealth explain cultural differences in French kissing frequency. People from less economically equal countries kissing their partner more often than people from more equal countries. Individuals kiss their partner more in countries where resource competition is likely to be more intense, which may play more important role in maintaining long-term stable relationship in certain type of harsh environments. In other words, the value attached to kissing as a mate assessment Q is greater in high pathogen ecologies, even if it's used sparingly in these environments. So, we're used to thinking that France is a romantic place with many couples and Italy is full of passion. But we can see in research that's just stereotype, and not so many people kiss in more equal countries. If you have no money and you don't think about career, you live in a country where resource competition is likely to be more intense, you estimate relationship more than people from not so poor countries. So in the end is haiku from Christopher Watkins. Mountains of kisses when the many have little, sharing their pine mouths. That's all.
Thank you for your lecture and our questions. You mentioned from Melody Williams, you mentioned that more attractive people valued kissing more. How was attractiveness quantified?
This from correction, just subjective of person. One part of questionnaire was about sex, national, and your health and attractiveness, and it's just subjective thing.
Okay, then if a question is answered, then I don't see any more questions in chat or in comments on YouTube. Then we will move to the next lecture. But first, some more words. Before I will introduce the next lecture, I want to speak some more about 15x4. Our project is fully non-commercial. That is why we are always in need of lecturers and helping hands. If you know something interesting and are eager to share it with people, or if you can assemble videos, help us with SMM, or even if you want to start a branch in your city, you're welcome. Just contact us in any social networks or tell about your or tell about your wish in Speaker Hub or in 15x4 Hub or Lounge at the end of lectures, and you will have that ability. We will be very grateful. So thanks. Yeah, clapping hands. The next lecture will be given by Catalina Valdivia Alvarez from 15x4 Krakow. It will be about Nobel Prize in Entomology. It is the first time for Catalina for giving a talk in a non-scientific environment. She is a PhD student studying microbiome of insects, and I think the next lecture will be interesting. Let's hear it.
Hello. Thank you for having me. So I will talk about the Ig Nobel Prize in Entomology. This is about arachnophobic entomologists. So to start talking about this, first we have to define some words. First, what is entomology? This is a branch of zoology that deals with the scientific study of land-dwelling arthropods. This is all insects and arachnids. So it includes spiders as well as many other kinds of insects. And arachnophobia is the fear of spiders, and phobias in general are defined as an excessive and irrational fear reaction. And the impact of a phobia can range from annoying to severely disabling. So the definition of a phobia is not very specific. It can be just not having a great dislike of, in this case, spiders, or being very afraid of them and getting very bad reactions by seeing a spider. So bad news for arachnophobic people, spiders are everywhere, except in places where there is snow. And there are over 45,000 known species of spiders around the world. So this Ig Nobel Prize was awarded to Dr. Richard Vedder from University of California, Riverside. He studies spiders and he interacts with a lot of entomologists. And he learned that some of them were afraid of spiders. So he thinks that considering the great variety of morphologies that insects display, it seems paradoxical that entomologists will have a different reaction to spiders than to other arthropods. So I think he sees this a bit like this comic of Spider-Man being arachnophobic. It seems a bit silly that someone that works with animals that are so similar to spiders will be afraid of spiders. So the goal of his study was to document arachnophobia in a specialized group of professionals, entomologists, which has not been previously examined. So I can relate a bit to this paradox that Richard Vedder sees in arachnophobic entomologists, because I have a phobia of worms, but I love spiders. I mean snakes. So they are similar in several ways, and it may seem silly that I am scared of worms and not snakes, but that's how it is. So he published a first call for participants in this study in the journal American Entomologist, and he included a page with some questions. First, the Fear of Spiders questionnaire. This is a psychological test done for the diagnosis of arachnophobia. And he included also some additional questions on some things that he was interested of knowing from arachnophobic entomologists. So he called people to participate if they consider themselves to be an entomologist, if they work with whole-bodied insects that are alive at some point, and if they have negative reactions to spiders. And he got 41 answers that he could use in his study. So an interesting finding is that in this graph in red, he chose the number of entomologists versus the score they got in the Fear of Spiders questionnaire. This is the psychological test. And only 2 people got high scores that will classify them as arachnophobic. But for one of the questions he included, that was this statement saying spiders are one of my greatest fears, 5 people gave the highest score to this statement. So he says that he sees some problems with the Fear of Spiders questionnaire. First, that the scale is even numbered, so people have to give scores from 0 to 7, but this gives 8 options. So there is no middle ground. People can't choose a middle option. He also says that there are two questions with high scores for entomologist reasons, and these ones are thinking frequently about spiders and being on the lookout for spiders. So he assumes that if someone is not afraid of spiders, they will get 0 points in this test. And he says that he himself and other entomologists that work with spiders will get at least 14 score, because they will give the highest score to these two questions. But I don't know if that's really a problem, because as we see, less people were classified as arachnophobic in the fear of spiders questionnaire versus how many people gave the highest score to the statement that spiders are their greatest fear. But I thought it was funny that he says, I probably think about spiders every waking hour of the day and considerably more often than arachnophobes. So he shares some testimonies from people. I selected 2 from the people that got highest scores in the Fear of Spiders questionnaire. The first testimony is from someone that got 98, a very high score. There was another question asking for how disgusted people were by spiders and how afraid they were. So in those 2 questions, this person gave a 3 and a 5 score. But this person works with parasitic Hymenoptera. This is parasitic wasps that inject their eggs into caterpillars, and then the larvae feed on the caterpillar, and they look like this. So they are not pretty, and they look a bit like a spider, but this person works with them. And this person says that they consider counseling, but decided against it for fear of exposure to spiders. She thinks that this fear stems from the fact that her father teased her with a large spider in a container at the age of 7. And at 19, she saw an egg sac hatching in her mattress, which is another traumatic experience with spiders. And she started to like insects because she took an entomology class at university, but still avoids spiders at all costs. And she says that slow movements from tarantula unsettle her more than faster movements of smaller spiders. So the other testimony is from someone with a score of 87, disgust 4, and fear 4. And this person works with dipteran maggots, and they look like this. These ones are not very similar to spiders. For me, they are very scary, but well, this person was offered the chance to hold a tarantula as a small child, and her parents prevented her from doing so, warning her that it was dangerous. Then she encountered an opilion that is another arachnid, and despite her parents' reassurance that it was safe, she was already scared. And another of the questions better included was giving scores of like and dislike in a like-dislike scale to other animals. And one was that they liked them very much. So this person gave 1 to maggots. And she says that maggots don't sneak up on you and jump in your hair. But I disagree with that, because one time I ran my hand through my hair and I got a worm in my hand. So it can happen. So Better wanted to know why people are afraid of, why these entomologists are afraid of spiders. And The highest scores were because they have many legs, because they are hairy, because of the way they move, because they are unexpected, and because they are fast running, and because they bite and have fangs. So other characteristics like disgusting or silent, nocturnal, dark color that can be related to other insects didn't get very high scores. So here is the like-dislike scale, and here I highlighted the insects and arachnids that were in this list. So most entomologists really like butterflies, ladybugs, dragonflies, bees, caterpillars, but they dislike cockroaches, maggots, scorpions that are also arachnids, mosquitoes, spiders, and ticks. Ticks are also arachnids. So there are some consistencies with the answers. So what were his conclusions from this study? That for these people, 2 more legs makes a big difference, even if they work with spiders and they are not very charismatic species. If they work with insects, most of which are not very charismatic species, they don't like spiders. And the other conclusion that is very interesting is that the fear of spiders doesn't go away with exposure, because a lot of the people that replied to this questionnaire are involved in field work or work with people that handle live spiders on a daily basis, and they are still very afraid of spiders. He tells the anecdote of one time opening his mail and he received a container with a live spider, and one of his colleagues was sitting across him, and as soon as they saw the spider, they ran out of the room because they were afraid of the spider. And also he tells about a student that will ask if spiders will be active during fieldwork season, so she could avoid spiders. And this last conclusion, that exposure to spiders doesn't make the fear go away, is interesting because exposure-based therapy is one of the treatments of choice for specific phobias. So this is giving evidence to the contrary that it shouldn't be. But maybe there is hope, because I saw an article where they showed clips from Spider-Man movies to arachnophobic people and Ant-Man movies to people that were afraid of ants. And they saw that the symptoms improved after watching short clips from these movies. And also there are other therapies that are using virtual reality or objects that are similar to spiders but that are not spiders to treat arachnophobia. So maybe there is some hope for these arachnophobic entomologists. Thank you so much. And here you can find the articles that were used for this presentation if you want to know more and read.
Thank you for the talk. Something very interesting just happened in our chat in YouTube. There is the comment from Mark Abrahams, founder of Ig Nobel Prize ceremony, and he asked if our presenters have arachnophobia too, and maybe it will be nice if everybody just write in comments in chat here if you are afraid of spiders, so that we will have some statistics among science lovers and 15x4 folks if we are afraid of spiders. Also, Melody Williams has the question to the lecturer. She asked, do you think that the treatment of arachnophobia with Spider-Man is a bit too human-centric? What do you think, Catalina?
Well, it is. It is human-centric. And I don't know if there are many scenes with spiders in Spider-Man. I think it's just when he gets bitten or when they show the research they are doing, but it's not a lot. So I don't know. But I think what they are trying to do with these movies is try to show these animals in a positive light, because Spider-Man gets these super awesome powers because he gets bitten by a spider, and Ant-Man also has some awesome powers related to ants. So I think the idea is to show these animals in a positive light, opposed to how you see them normally as maybe ugly or scary.
Okay, thanks. We have some comments on why do you like or dislike spiders. Maybe our listeners will comment that too, and we will have some statistics, and I will read it later. After the third lecture. And before I introduce the third lecture, a short remark. Science Bar is open all time, and if you are kind of bored or you're so afraid of spiders and photos of the previous lecture, you can go to Science Bar and hang out there for some time and speak with our barman about 1504 lectures or whatever. Also, at 8:30, lectures lounge and 15x4 lounge will be opened, and you don't need to go out of NEET. You can go and speak with us and have some time with us more. The third lecture will be given by Oleksandra Kazhan from 15x4 Kharkiv, Ukraine. She's with us for 4 years, nearly from the beginning of 15x4, and she's a volunteer and lecturer with us. Oleksandra now is a QA, but her true passion is biotechnology. And let's listen about Ig Nobel Prize in Medicine from her.
Yes, hello everyone. Nice to see that so many people came here on this new platform. And let's start with the lecture. Boom. And look what I can do. Boom. You can both see me and my lecture. Magic. I'll start 15 minutes about misophonia. And before we start, I wanted to talk a little bit more about myself, because I can. And the first thing is, as was told before, I'm from 15x4 from Kharkiv, and it's the place where it all started. You can say this is an old photo, I swear, like year and a half before quarantine, and you can see our, even like it's a small part of actually the team in Kharkiv, but it has the most memorable people here. And truly grateful to be the part of 15/4. It gave me a lot of beautiful memories and abilities, and yeah, good stuff. And then let's talk about less good stuff. Let's talk about warning. I'm not a psychiatrist in any way, shape, or form. This lecture is for educational purposes only. I swear I cannot tell you whether you have or have not a misophonia, because it's to be considered as a mental issue, and you should see a psychiatrist for this. Okay, as was told, I'm a QA. I'm not a psychiatrist. Please, just for fun and education. Okay, let's go. So, have you ever wanted to slap somebody in the face because they were chewing too loud and chewing and chewing, and they were making all of these disgusting and annoying sounds, and you just wanted to scream and run away? Well, first of all, you're not alone, as you can see from these various old memes that are found all across the internet. And yeah, this issue is for a lot of people, and for some it can be just from being annoyed and a little bit irritated to be actually really angry and aggressive sometimes. Well, it turns out these people are not just mad and just can get at people angry at any cause. Actually, it's called misophonia. And this year, 2020, a Nobel Prize was given to the researchers from UMC, university medical centers, because they were working with patients with misophonia. First of all, they got the biggest group so far of misophonic patients, and second of all, they tried to find a cure for these people, something to make their symptoms less harmful to their social lives. So in the first day publication, they were talking about misophonia, and the name of it, by the way, comes from the two words Greek, because scientists that like to come up with the names something maybe with imagination. No, we just have the word misos, which means hate, and phony, which actually means voice, but this whole phrase can be roughly translated to hate of sound, because yeah, imagination is for losers, not for scientists. So first of all, they were working on symptoms, trying to find some distinct symptoms from other diseases. And they found that, first of all, triggers, they were triggers for the disease, for anger. First of all, triggering stimuli were all sounds produced by humans. What does it mean? That means that only if you hear a person chewing loudly, you will have a misophonic reaction. Not triggered by animals, so cute little chewing puppy will not be triggering for a person with misophonia. Also, the person themselves can't be a misophonic trigger. So if you are annoyed by your own chewing, even we don't know what is wrong with you. I'm really sorry. Then most common triggers include eater-related sounds. It means mouth smacking, chewing, and all of this, like mouth sounds. I would make one, but then it can be irritating for people, and we're talking about mental health, so let's skip it. Then comes loud breathing. It can be loud breathing through the nose, through the mouth. Maybe some sounds of people with runny nose or loudly coughing, and clicking sounds. For example, pen clicking and keyboard clicking can also be a trigger, misophonic, and can have a reaction. So what the stimuli can be auditory and visually. So auditory, it means that you hear an annoying sound, for example, chewing or clicking, or you can see it. So even if you see the person chewing, this can also be a trigger. And some of the patients, like 5 of them, which is 12%, they told about misokinesia sensitive patients, and misokinesia reaction is a miso hatred, kinesia movement. So they hated when they saw a very repeating movement, for example, like leg rocking or maybe hand shaking, something like this. So if there was a very repetitive movement, this can be annoying too, turns out. Not for all patients, but for some of them. Then what happens after there was a trigger? First comes anger. This can or cannot be translated then to the aggression. We will talk about this a little bit later. But after anger comes guilt, because people with misophonia understand that their anger are based on nothing, that you cannot yell at a person for just chewing loudly, and this strong reaction is unnatural. Then comes fear of losing control. These people are afraid that they might yell at somebody or hit somebody because of their anger, and they fear that something may be out of control, and it leads to avoidance of social contact. It is the most harmful thing because, well, people are social animals and they need social contact to be able to live healthy. And the main thing, avoidance of social contact, is the most harmful to patients and their families. Then about anger, it can went into aggression, and so almost 30% of patients told that they had verbal aggression, so they would scream at somebody. Yeah, it's not a lot of people actually. People with misophonia can control their anger and not let it go to aggression pretty well, but some of them did had a tantrum. And the thing is, it can also be a physical aggression towards inanimate objects like phone or maybe a fork or maybe plate, something like this. So again, 70% of people, not that much, but still is, and 12% were had physical aggression towards people. So 5 people out of this group, they hated their partner or ex-partner at least once. And this is what people with misophonia are actually afraid of. They're not afraid of the sound of chewing. They are afraid of themselves for being angry because somebody is chewing. Yep, something like that. Then link to other diseases. There are researchers that I show you actually work with other mental diseases, and that's why they were interested in misophonia, because they saw that this looks like a new mental disease, but to fully describe it, they tried to link it to other diseases. Maybe found that maybe misophonia is just a symptom of other disease, or maybe it actually stands by its own, and they had a lot of time trying to find where this cause and where is consequence. And they, well, first that comes to mind is phonophobia, so phobia of sound. And yeah, it can be in some ways similar because a strong emotional reaction to sound, both in phonophobia and misophonia. It's so hard to, yeah, because one is phonophobia and other is misophonia. Can be a little bit confusing. But the thing is, reaction is anxiety in phonophobia, not anger, though. So the person who hears a triggering stimuli in phonophobia, they are afraid, they have anxiety, not anger. And it's actually the main point in most of these diseases is most of them are based on anxiety, not aggression. Then comes specific phobia. For example, xenophobia or phobia of dogs. And the same can be triggered by the auditory stimuli. For example, if a person with xenophobia hears barking, they will have the reaction. Again, stimuli triggers anxiety, not anger, as before. Then comes the social phobia. Why this? Because social situation induce stress and or anxiety, both in social phobia and misophonia. But the thing is a hypersensitivity in social phobia to negative evaluation by others. So in social phobia, a person is afraid of others may think of them, whereas in misophonia, a person afraid of themselves that they can harm somebody. So, and they are afraid of that they will be in situation with misophonic trigger, so they will start to avoid social contacts, which is not that bad in the pandemic, but oh well. Then comes PTSD, which is maybe strange here, but listen me out. PTSD can also be triggered by auditory stimuli. I guess it's like the main thing that people know about PTSD is that shooting fireworks can remind a person with PTSD about shooting in a war or something like that. But again, in PTSD, life-threatening traumatic event has been experienced. There has been a trauma, a real physical trauma, whereas in misophonia, scientists never found any traumatic event that was linked to chewing. Like nobody was stopped by their enemy was chewing loudly or something like that. And driving emotion is PTSD, is fear, not aggression. Aggression can be there, but driving emotion will be always fear. Then obsessive compulsive disorder. And the thing is that monothematic preoccupation with specific sound in misophonia can resemble obsession in OCD. And OCD is based on anxiety, by the way, also. And avoidance is present in as another anxiety disorders. As I will say, OCD is an anxiety disorder, so there can be an avoidance, like in misophonia, where people will with misophonia will try to avoid social gatherings. But the thing is, OCD patients tend to perform compulsive acts to reduce anxiety. They don't want to like run away or hit somebody. No, the obsession it links to some. Maybe if I wash my hands 3 times, then my parents won't die, something like that. And aggression is not commonly reported in OCD. It can be, but it's not always. And obsessive compulsive personality disorder. Well, it turns out OCD and OCPD are 2 very distinct disorders. And the thing about OCPD is researchers found that half of the patients that were examined, they made the criteria for OCPD. Researchers are still trying to find why such a drastic part of these people have OCPD. They're trying to find whether OCPD may be convoluted and they started to have misophonia reaction. Maybe misophonia forced them into OCPD or something like that. And there is still research in this topic, and it's a very interesting point to find. Then intermittent explosive disorder. In this, like, hey, if people with misophonia have anger outbursts, maybe it's some explosive disorder. But the thing is about intermittent explosive disorder is excessive impulsive aggression. Yeah, it's present, but frequent loss of control over insignificant cause. Like for the person who suffers from explosive disorder, it can be very significant. For example, somebody looked at me the wrong way, or told me something the wrong way. Of anger issues. Then personality disorders with impulsive aggression. There are several personality disorders that can have impulsive aggression as a symptom. For example, examined were diagnosed with any of these disorders. Then comes autism spectrum disorder. The thing is, auditory hyperresponsivity is also present in the people that can be on the some spectrum of autism. But typical triggers allow and unexpected noises. So if chewing is expected and maybe performed by people that this patient has known, it will be okay. And none of the examined patients was diagnosed with ASD. Again, maybe some things may seem similar, but researchers tried to find something in this field and they didn't find any. And general medical conditions and substance-induced disorders with impulsive aggression. General medical conditions, it means head trauma, and substance-induced disorders with impulsive aggression are drug abuse. Well, they were found none because none of the patients reported any brain trauma, previous or brain damage, and none of them used recreational drugs or any excessive amounts of alcohol. So this theory is also didn't prove itself. What about treatment? Well, unfortunately, the only possible treatment that, as for now, researchers are looking into is cognitive behavioral therapy. Their paper showed that almost half of the patients were able to have their symptoms minimalized in some way or another. And it can be, well, actually pretty logical because disorders that could benefit from cognitive behavioral therapy include anger and phobias, which can be similar with misophonia. So I hope that's all. I hope you have questions for me. So let's hear them.
was told by
Live streaming is on.
Is always okay? Yes. Okay. And one story was told by some Inuit guy. There is a well-known account of an old Inuit man who refused to move into a settlement. Over the objections of his family, he made plans to stay on the ice. To stop him, they took away all of his tools. So, in the midst of a winter gale, he stepped out of their igloo, defecated and hewn the feces into a frozen blade, which he sharpened with a spray of saliva. With a knife, he killed a dog, using its rib cage as a sled and its hide to harness another dog. He disappeared into the darkness. Honestly, when I first read this grim and dark story, I imagined something like this. And the story moved from one book to another, and people from Kentucky University, anthropologists and archaeologists, they was fooled about it, and they wanted to check if it's possible to produce some knives from feces and kill a dog. But don't worry, they didn't kill a dog. Materials and methods is important part of each research. So they collected materials from Dr. Dmitrieva. He used diet for 8 days, and this diet, as they thought, should be close to diet of Inuit people. Inuits live to the very north of North America, and there are no plants in this area, so they just eat meat and fish. You can see here in the menu eggs, beef snack, beef steaks, turkey snacks, and some other things which I think Inuit guys from Stone Age can eat. And also they used control. Control was Dr. Michelle Weber. She used her common diet with yogurt, rice, spaghetti, cheeseburgers, and the materials from her also was collected. Then they, okay, it's not what you're thinking about, it's just potter's clay. Then they used some piece of potter's clay, sharp stone, maybe from Stone Age, and they pushed the stone to the clay and then filled the shape, filled this thing with with materials collected from Dr. Irene and Dr. Weber. And then they have frozen it for 2 days at -20 Celsius degrees and began the experiment. So of course, they didn't kill a dog. I think any commission for bioethicity will not allow it. They tried to cut some slices from pig skin. And as you see on the left picture, knife made from Dr. Irene feces was broken. And on the right picture, you see experiment with knife made from Dr. 𝗵𝗿elle feces, but they failed in both experiments. So they couldn't cut any piece of this pig skin, and they thought that this myth is busted. So it's impossible to create some sharp thing and even to cut slice of some skin, not to kill somebody or do some other things. But I think if they knew some very basic things from material science, they can say that it don't work without doing such dirty experiments. So what about material science? Feces consist of mainly of water. 75% of it is water. Then it has some amount of fibers, salts, proteins, lipids, microbes, and then I will think that I can compare it with ice blade, with ice knife, because it's close because it should be close to it. So first property is hardness. Hardness is a measure of the resistance to localized plastic deformation induced by either mechanical indentation or abrasion. How people measure hardness? They take diamond indenter, then push it on some material and see how deep it goes to this material. And hardness scale was invented by Carl Friedrich Christian Mohs, German scientist, who placed all materials in some 10-number scale. The first number is talc. Talc is a very, very soft material, and the 10th number is diamond. So material with higher scale number on the small scale can scratch material with lower scale number. For example, we can scratch corundum by diamond, but we can't scratch diamond by corundum. And only diamond can scratch diamonds. That's why diamond is the hardest material ever known. And you can see here some things like knife. Knife has 5.5 on this Mohs scale, so it's rather hard. And where is ice here? So ice has only 1.5 scale number or hardness scale, and you can use even your fingernail to scratch it. So it's really soft. So the ice is really soft, and it's hard to imagine that you can cut something with a piece of ice. And another property is brittleness. So brittleness describes the property of a material that fractures when subjected to stress, but has a little tendency to deform before rupture. On the left picture, you can see the crystal structure of ice. It's ideal. It's really nice, really. But in reality, we not often see this. We see some ice crystals with a lot of deformations, with some defects, and if we will fill ice with such things from feces like microbes, fibers, and so on, it will be this material from frozen feces will be even more brittle than common ice. So I think that only from these two very basic properties from material science, we can say that these knives will be not so good and they will not work at all, but not well, but at all. And as for me, I learned very interesting thing about archaeologists themselves. So from some movies, I thought that archaeologists do something like this, but in reality, they do something like this. So I can say that this work shows real difference between scientists, between real scientists and scientists showed in some movies. But who knows? Maybe Indiana Jones made some preparations before these battles, before battle with these guys. Okay, that's all, folks, and we can move to questions.
Thank you for the lecture. So we have not much time for the questions because we need to end this session soon. But we have one more question from Melody Williams. Would freeze-dried urine work?
I don't know. I think it consists of water. Even it has even more water than feces, and so maybe this frozen urine will be better than frozen feces, but not better than ice.
And one more question from Liliana Pedro. Would poops from herbivores work? They have a lot of fiber.
I don't know. I didn't try.
Okay, then I can say that this session is over. Thank you for participating. There was so much of you here, so many of you. It is very nice and flattering. Thank you for participating. We will be also grateful if you sign up for our social networks. And we are waiting to see you at the next events, our next online events, and in our lectures lounge and 15x4 lounge. Thank you. Thank you for coming.